The transport ship descended through the purple atmosphere of Velran Prime, carrying its final passenger toward the Galactic Naval Academy. Inside the cramped cabin, Kang Doyen pressed his face against the viewport and watched the massive station come into view. It looked like a silver flower floating in orbit, with dozens of platforms extending from a central hub. He had dreamed of this moment for 3 years. The other passengers kept their distance from him. A group of tall, gray-skinned Velrians whispered in the corner. 2 insectoid Krillians clicked their mandibles nervously whenever he moved. Doyun was used to it by now. During the 2-week journey, everyone had learned he was human. Everyone had learned humans came from Earth, and everyone knew Earth was classified as a Class 10 Deathworld. The ship docked with a soft thud. Doyen grabbed his single bag and followed the others into the station. The gravity hit him first. It was lighter here, maybe half of what he was used to. Each step felt bouncy, like walking on a soft mattress. He had to concentrate to avoid jumping with every movement. The orientation hall was enormous, with a curved ceiling that displayed a real-time view of the stars outside. 300 cadets from across the galaxy filled the space, their voices creating a buzz of different languages and sounds. Doyen found a seat near the back and sat down carefully. The chair creaked under his weight. A tall figure appeared on the stage. Commander Velthrus was an insectoid species with 4 arms and compound eyes that glittered like black diamonds. His voice came through translators attached to every seat. "Welcome to the Galactic Naval Academy," he said. "You represent 73 different species from across known space. Here you will learn to serve together, fight together, and protect the Galactic Council's vision of peace." Velthrus began explaining the Academy structure, the training programs and the expectations. Then he paused and his eyes seemed to scan the crowd. "This year we have a historic addition," he continued. "For the first time in 3 centuries, we have admitted a cadet from a Class 10 Deathworld." His gaze locked onto Doyen. "Cadet Kang Doyen, please stand." Doyen's heart pounded as he rose to his feet. Every head turned toward him. He heard gasps and whispers ripple through the hall. "Earth's gravity is 3.2 times our standard," Velthrus said. "Its atmosphere contains oxygen levels that would be toxic to most species here. Its surface temperature ranges from freezing death to burning heat. Predators on Earth have evolved for millions of years to hunt and kill. And humans have survived it all." He paused. "Cadet Doyen, we will be watching your performance very closely." Doyen sat down quickly, his face burning. He wanted to disappear. After orientation, cadets were assigned to squads and barracks. Doyen found himself in Squad Theta, which seemed to have the most aggressive species. A massive Krillian named Bron stared at him with obvious hostility. A reptilian called Kresh kept his distance but never took his eyes off Doyen. The barracks were simple, 10 beds arranged in 2 rows, lockers for personal items, and a communal bathroom. Doyen chose a bed in the corner and started unpacking. The other squad members watched him like he was a dangerous animal. "So it's true," Bron said finally, his voice deep and grinding. "They let a human in?" "Yes," Doyen said quietly. "Humans are supposed to be dangerous," another cadet said, a thin amphibian named Lixara. "But you look normal," Doyen smiled. "I am normal. For a human." "Can you really survive 3 times this gravity?" Bron asked. "Earth's gravity is normal for me," Doyen said. "This feels like I'm floating," Bron snorted. "We'll see how tough you really are." 2 days later, Park Minna arrived at the academy. She wasn't a combat cadet. She was training for communications and support roles. But when Doyen saw her in the cafeteria, he nearly knocked over his tray running to her. "Minha," he shouted. She turned and her face lit up. They had grown up in the same neighborhood back on Earth, had attended the same schools, had applied to the academy together. Seeing her here felt like finding a piece of home. They hugged and the entire cafeteria went silent. Other species didn't understand human physical contact. To them, Doyen and Minha looked like they were wrestling or preparing to mate. "I can't believe you're here," Minha said, pulling back. "How has it been?" "Strange," Doyen admitted. "Everyone's afraid of me." "Good," Minha said with a grin. "Maybe they'll leave you alone." But that night, everything changed. Doyen was in his barracks reading on his datapad when the alarm started. Red lights flashed throughout the building and a computerized voice announced, "Predator breach. All cadets shelter in place. Security teams responding." The other squad members immediately grabbed weapons from the emergency lockers. stun batons and shock rifles. Braun took a position near the door. "What's happening?" Doyen asked. "Vrex," Lixara said, his voice trembling. "They're the predators the Academy uses for advanced combat training. 6 legs, razor claws, pack hunters. If they've escaped..." A scream echoed from outside. It was distant but clear. Doyen's blood went cold. He knew that voice. "That's Minha," he said. "Stay here," Braun ordered. "Security will handle it." But Doyen was already at the weapon locker. He grabbed a combat knife and headed for the door. "Are you insane?" Lixara shouted. "You'll be killed!" "She's my friend," Doyen said simply. He opened the door and ran into the night. The Academy grounds were lit by emergency lights casting strange shadows everywhere. In the distance he could see movement, low, fast shapes moving between buildings. The Vrex pack, Doyen ran toward Minha's building, his heart pounding. On Earth he had trained in martial arts and survival skills. He had hiked through jungles and mountains, but he had never faced anything like this. The Vrex pack emerged from the shadows ahead of him. There were 5 of them, each the size of a large lion with 6 powerful legs and heads covered in bony plates. Their eyes glowed yellow in the darkness. They spread out, surrounding him. Doyen stopped running. He stood perfectly still and met the pack leader's gaze. Something happened that he didn't understand. The Vrex pack leader tilted its head, sniffing the air. Then it took a step backward. The other Vrex followed. Slowly, carefully, the entire pack retreated. They turned and disappeared into the forest zone at the edge of the Academy grounds. Doyen stood there, shaking, not understanding what had just happened. Behind him he heard boots on pavement. Security teams were arriving, weapons ready. Lieutenant Kresh stared at him in disbelief. "How are you alive?" Kresh asked. "I don't know," Doyen said honestly. Later that night, after Minha was confirmed safe, after the Vrex were recaptured, Commander Velthris called Doyen to his office. The commander's compound eyes studied him for a long moment. "The Vrex have never retreated from prey before," Velthris said. "Never. In 300 years of Academy history." He leaned forward. "What did you do?" "Nothing," Doyen said. "I just looked at them." Velthris was silent for a moment. "I think," he said slowly, "we have made a terrible mistake inviting humans here. Or perhaps a brilliant one. Time will tell." The morning after the Vrex incident, Doyen woke to find his barracks empty. His squadmates had left for breakfast without waking him. He dressed quickly and headed to the cafeteria, feeling the stares of every cadet he passed. The cafeteria buzzed with conversation, but it stopped when he entered. Hundreds of eyes watched him cross the room. He found Minha sitting alone at a table near the window. She looked tired but unharmed. "You're an idiot," she said when he sat down. "Good morning to you too," Doyen replied. "You could have died. Those things were predators. Apex predators." "You were screaming." Minha's expression softened. "I know, and thank you. But don't do that again." She pushed a data pad across the table. "Have you seen this?" The screen showed a news article from the Galactic Information Network. The headline read, "Human Cadet Faces Vrex Pack Alone, Predators Retreat." Below it was security footage of Doyen standing in the open while the Vrex backed away. "It's gone viral," Minha said. "Every species in the galaxy is talking about it. Some say you're proof humans are too dangerous. Others say it's fake." Before Doyen could respond, someone sat down across from them. It was another human, older than Doyen by a few years, with short hair and tired eyes. "Choi Hanuel," the man said, extending his hand. "Third-year cadet, engineering track." Doyen shook his hand. "You're human. 1 of 5 in the entire academy," Hanuel said. "Well, 6 now with you, and 7 with Minha if we count support staff." He leaned back. "I need to warn you about something. What you did last night, that's going to have consequences." "I didn't do anything," Doyen protested. "That's exactly the problem," Hanuel said. "You existed and predators ran. Do you understand how that looks to species that evolved as prey, or even to species that evolved as predators themselves?" "I don't want to scare anyone," Doyen said. "Too late," Hanuel replied. "The Galactic Council is already requesting reports. They want to know if humans are safe to integrate into military structures." He pulled up another file on his datapad. "Did you know Earth applied for full council membership 2 years ago? The vote has been delayed 3 times. Know why?" "Because they're afraid of us. That's stupid," Minha said. "Humans aren't monsters." "No," Hanuel agreed. but we're apex predators from a Deathworld. Our planet tried to kill us for millions of years, and we survived. We're stronger, faster, and more resilient than most species here, and last night, Doyen proved that even natural predators recognize us as threats. The conversation was interrupted by a loud voice across the cafeteria. Braun the Krillian from Doyen's squad was standing on a table. "I challenge the human to sanctioned combat," Braun shouted. "If he's truly strong, let him prove it in the arena." The cafeteria erupted in excited chatter. Sanctioned combat was the academy tradition, a way for cadets to settle disputes through controlled fighting. It was supervised, regulated, and completely legal. Doyen felt his stomach sink. "I don't want to fight him." "You don't have a choice," Hanuel said grimly. "If you refuse, everyone will think humans are cowards. If you accept, you have to win without hurting him too badly, or everyone will think we're savages." "What should I do?" "Win fast," Hanuel said. "Win so fast he doesn't have time to get hurt." The fight was scheduled for that evening in the main arena. Doyen spent the afternoon with Hanuel, who taught him the rules. No weapons, no killing, no permanent injury. The fight ended when one participant surrendered or was rendered unconscious. "Braun is Krillian warrior caste," Hanuel explained. "His species has exoskeletons, so your punches won't do much. He's trained in combat since childhood, but he's also slow compared to you, and he doesn't think defensively. His culture values direct confrontation." When evening came, the arena was packed. It seemed like every cadet in the academy had come to watch. Doyen walked onto the sand-covered floor, his heart pounding. Across from him, Braun cracked his neck and flexed his forearms. Commander Velthris stood at the edge of the arena. "This is sanctioned combat between Cadet Braun and Cadet Kang Doyun. Standard rules apply. Begin." Braun charged immediately, all four arms reaching for Doyen. But Doyen wasn't there anymore. He had stepped to the side at the last second, and Braun stumbled past him. The Krillian turned and charged again. This time, Doyen ducked under the grasping arms and swept Braun's legs. The massive alien crashed to the sand. Braun roared and pushed himself up, but Doyen was already moving. He grabbed one of Braun's arms, twisted, and used the Krillian's own momentum to flip him again. Before Braun could recover, Doyun had him in a joint lock, one arm bent at an angle that made the crowd gasp. "Surrender," Doyun said quietly. "Never," Braun growled. Doyen applied more pressure, not enough to break anything, but enough to hurt. "I don't want to injure you. Please surrender." Braun struggled for another moment, then went still. "I surrender," he said, his voice filled with shame. Doyen released him immediately and stepped back. The entire fight had lasted less than a minute. The arena was silent. Then slowly some cadets began to clap. Others joined in. Soon the entire crowd was applauding, though Doyen couldn't tell if it was respect or fear. That night, a new visitor arrived at the academy. Admiral Krent was a human fleet officer, one of the few who had achieved high rank in the Galactic Navy. He was tall, gray-haired, and carried himself with absolute confidence. He gave a speech to the assembled cadets in the main hall. "I've been asked many times why humans should be allowed in galactic military service," he said. "Some say we're too aggressive, too dangerous, too unpredictable." He paused. "They're not wrong. Humans are dangerous. But you know what's more dangerous? A galaxy that doesn't understand danger. We come from a world that tried to kill us every single day," Krent continued. "We learned to adapt, to survive, to think creatively. These aren't weaknesses. These are strengths. And the galaxy needs these strengths." After the speech, Doyen found himself approached by Lixara, the amphibian from his squad. "I want to apologize," Lixara said. "I was afraid of you. Many of us were. But watching you fight Braun, you could have hurt him badly. You chose not to." "I don't want to hurt anyone," Doyen said. "I know," Lixara said. "That's what makes you different. You're strong, but you choose to be gentle. My species values that. I would be honored to serve in your squad." For the first time since arriving at the academy, Doyen felt like he might actually belong. Training at the Galactic Naval Academy intensified after the first month. Doyen's squad, Squad Theta, was assigned to wilderness survival training on Velrun Prime's largest moon. The moon had breathable atmosphere and diverse ecosystems, making it perfect for testing cadet abilities under stress. Doyen stood with his squad at the transport platform, checking his gear. Beside him, Lixara adjusted a breathing mask even though the air was safe. "Old habits from a water world," he had explained. Braun stood apart from the group, still sulking from his defeat in the arena. Two other squad members, a crystalline being named Torix and a furry mammalian called Ven, chatted nervously about the exercise. Minha appeared at the edge of the platform, carrying communication equipment. She wasn't part of the combat exercise, but her role was to coordinate between the squads and monitor their progress from base camp. Try not to scare any wildlife this time, she said to Doyen with a grin. I'll do my best, he replied. The transport dropped them in a dense forest region. Trees with purple bark stretched toward a pink sky. Strange bird-like creatures called from the canopy. Commander Velthrus's voice came through their communicators. Your objective is simple, he said. Reach the extraction point 15 kilometers north. You have 48 hours. Hunting for food is permitted. There are predators in this region, but nothing your squad cannot handle together. Begin. The squad moved out. Braun naturally tried to take charge, his warrior instincts demanding leadership. But after several poor decisions, including nearly leading them into a swamp, Lixara quietly suggested they listen to Doyen's observations instead. There, Doyen said, pointing at broken branches. Something large came through here recently. We should avoid this path. How do you know? Torix asked. The way the branches are broken, they're bent downward, meaning something tall pushed through. And look at the ground. Those aren't footprints, they're drag marks. Whatever made them was moving fast. They adjusted their route. As they walked, Doyen taught them tracking techniques he had learned on Earth. How to read disturbed soil, how to identify scat and determine the animal's diet, how to listen for alarm calls from smaller creatures. By nightfall, they had covered 8 kilometers and set up camp in a small clearing. Ven and Torix gathered wood while Lixara purified water from a nearby stream. Braun stood watch, his pride preventing him from admitting he was impressed by Doyen's skills. Around the fire, the squad shared stories from their home worlds. Lixara described the floating cities of his water planet. Torix explained how her crystalline species communicated through light patterns. Even Braun told a tale about his first hunt as a child. What about you, Doyen? Ven asked. What was your first hunt? Doyen poked at the fire with a stick. Humans don't really hunt anymore. We farm most of our food. But my grandfather took me fishing once when I was 8. I caught a fish this big. He spread his hands apart. That's it. Braun scoffed. A fish? It was a good day, Doyen said simply. The next morning, they broke camp and continued north. The terrain grew rougher with steep hills and rocky outcrops. Around midday, Lixara suddenly froze. Do you hear that? He whispered. Everyone stopped. In the distance, something massive was moving through the forest. Trees shook and the ground trembled with each step. We need to hide, Ven said, her voice shaking. Too late, Doyen said. It's coming this way. The creature emerged from the tree line. It stood at least 6 meters tall, with a broad body covered in thick plates of natural armor. It had a massive head with forward-facing eyes and a horn on its snout. A herbivore, but a massive and territorial one. The creature spotted them and let out a bellowing roar. Don't run, Doyen said calmly. Running triggers chase instinct. Stay still. But Torix panicked and bolted. The creature's head snapped toward her and it charged. The ground shook with each thundering step. Doyen didn't think. He just moved. He ran directly at the charging creature, shouting at the top of his lungs. His squad mates screamed at him to stop, but he kept running. At the last possible second, Doyen planted his feet and spread his arms wide, making himself as large as possible. The creature lowered its head to gore him with its horn. Then Doyen did something that made no sense to any of his squad. He stomped his foot hard against the ground and shouted a deep, guttural roar that came from somewhere primal in his chest. The creature stopped. Its massive head tilted, confused. This tiny thing wasn't running. This tiny thing was challenging it. Doyen took a step forward, maintaining eye contact, and roared again. The creature took a step back. Doyen advanced another step, his body language screaming confidence and aggression. The creature's small prey animal brain couldn't process it. This wasn't how prey behaved. Slowly, the massive herbivore turned and walked away, disappearing back into the forest. Doyen's legs gave out and he collapsed to his knees, shaking. His squad rushed to him. What was that? Lixara gasped. I have no idea, Doyen admitted. On Earth, we learned that most animals don't want to fight. They want to eat or avoid being eaten. If you can convince them you're too much trouble, they usually leave. You could have died, Braun said. and for the first time his voice held respect instead of hostility. Yeah, Doyen agreed. I really could have. They reached the extraction point with 6 hours to spare. Commander Velthris was waiting with the transport, along with several other instructors who had been monitoring the exercise through the squad's helmet cameras. Cadet Doyen, Velthris said. Your actions were reckless, dangerous, and violated several safety protocols. Yes, sir, Doyen said, standing at attention. They also saved your squadmate's life, Velthris continued. Dismissed. As they boarded the transport, Braun moved to sit beside Doyen. I was wrong about you, the Krillian said gruffly. You're not weak. You're not soft. You're just different. Thank you, Doyen said. If we ever fight together in real combat, Braun continued, I would be honored to have you at my side. Back at the academy, Doyen found Minha waiting for him outside the barracks. I watched the whole thing on the monitoring feeds, she said. You scared me to death. I'm sorry, Doyen said. No, you're not, she replied, but she was smiling. You're exactly like you were as a kid. Always jumping in to protect others. She hugged him. Just be careful. The galaxy isn't ready for humans yet. Sometimes I think we aren't ready for the galaxy either. That night, Doyen received a message on his datapad. It was from Admiral Krent. Good work out there. Keep showing them what humans can do. But remember, we're not trying to prove we're the strongest. We're trying to prove we're worth trusting. Doyen thought about that for a long time before falling asleep. The emergency alarm woke Doyen from a deep sleep. Red lights flashed through the barracks and a computerized voice announced, All combat cadets report to briefing hall immediately. This is not a drill. Squad Theta assembled in record time and ran to the briefing hall. The room was already packed with senior cadets, instructors, and military personnel. Commander Velthris stood at the front, his compound eyes reflecting the holographic display behind him. 2 hours ago, a pirate fleet attacked civilian station Outpost 47, Velthris announced. The station houses 3,000 civilians and is minimally defended. Naval forces are responding, but they're 6 hours away. The Academy's training vessels are being mobilized to assist with evacuation and defense. The hologram showed the station, a small facility orbiting a gas giant. Around it, red markers indicated enemy ships. There were more than expected. Senior cadets will deploy immediately, Velthris continued. Third and fourth-year students will form the primary response teams. Second-year cadets will provide support. First-year cadets will remain on standby as reserves. Doyen felt relief and disappointment at the same time. He wanted to help, but he understood that inexperienced cadets could cause more problems than they solved. The senior cadets began filing out. Among them was Choi Hanwell, who gave Doyen a quick nod before leaving. Another human cadet, a woman named Ryu Jiwan, stopped briefly. Stay safe, she told Doyen, and be ready. Something feels wrong about this. The first-year cadets were dismissed to their barracks to wait. Mina found Doyen in the common area, monitoring news feeds on her datapad. Any updates? He asked. Not good, she said. The pirates have better ships than intelligence expected. They're not just raiders, they're organized. Our forces are taking heavy fire. An hour later, the situation deteriorated. Emergency medical teams were being assembled. The standby order for reserves was upgraded to active preparation. Squad Theta was issued live weapons and combat armor. Then the worst news came. A garbled distress call from one of the Academy ships. Ryuji-1's squad had been ambushed during a boarding action. Several cadets were dead. One was captured, a human engineering student named Nam Suyon. Commander Velthris appeared on the barracks screens, his expression grim. The situation has escalated. Pirates have taken a hostage and are threatening to execute her if we don't withdraw. Naval Command is preparing to negotiate. Doyen felt his blood run cold. He knew what happened to hostages taken by pirates. Admiral Krent's voice cut through the communication channel. Negative. I'm not abandoning one of my people. I'm authorizing a rescue operation. Velthris looked shocked. Admiral, these are cadets, not soldiers. Then they're about to learn, Krent replied. I need a volunteer squad for a boarding action. High risk, possibly lethal. Who's willing? Doyen stood up. Squad Theta volunteers. His squad mates looked at him in surprise, then one by one they stood as well. Lixara despite his fear. Braun with grim determination. Even Torix and Ven, who were clearly terrified. We're coming too, Minha said, appearing with several communication specialists. Within 30 minutes, they were aboard a fast attack shuttle. Admiral Krent briefed them personally. The pirate flagship is a converted cargo hauler, he explained, showing them schematics. Heavily armed but poorly maintained. Suyan is being held in the brig here. He pointed to a section deep inside the ship. Your job is to get in, get her, and get out. I'll be coordinating the fleet to draw their attention. Choi Hanwell, who had survived the first attack, was also on the shuttle. He would lead the technical aspect, hacking doors and disabling security. One more thing, Krent said, looking directly at Doyen. These aren't Vrex. These are sentient beings who have chosen violence as a way of life. They will try to kill you. You have my authorization to use lethal force if necessary. The shuttle approached the pirate flagship from its blind spot. Hanuel used electronic warfare to mask their signature. They docked at a maintenance airlock and Hanuel quickly bypassed the security. Inside, the ship was dark and poorly maintained. Cables hung from the ceiling and the air smelled of oil and something rotten. Squad Theta moved through the corridors in formation. Doyen was on point with Braun covering the rear. They encountered the first pirates near a junction, 2 large reptilian beings carrying energy weapons. The pirates raised their weapons, but Doyen was faster. He closed the distance before they could fire and disarmed the first with a strike to the wrist. Braun tackled the second, his forearms overwhelming the pirates' defenses. They secured the pirates and continued deeper into the ship. The next encounter was more serious. 5 pirates in a cargo bay alerted by the first skirmish. Contact, Ven shouted. Energy bolts filled the air. Squad Theta scattered, taking cover behind cargo containers. Doyen's training took over. He moved between containers, using the environment to his advantage. When a pirate leaned out to fire, Doyen was already there, taking him down with precise strikes. Braun charged another pirate head-on, absorbing several energy bolts that his armor barely stopped. But he reached his target and ended the fight with brutal efficiency. Lixara, despite his fear, provided covering fire that allowed Torix to flank the remaining pirates. Within minutes, the cargo bay was clear. 1 squad member was injured. Ven had taken a glancing shot to the shoulder, but they were alive. They reached the brig and found Nam Suyan locked in a cell, bruised but alive. Hanuel hacked the door open. I knew someone would come, Suyan said, her voice shaking. I hoped it would be you guys. The return journey was harder. Pirates were converging on their position. The squad had to fight through 2 more groups and casualties were mounting. Torix's armor was breached. Lixara was limping from a fall. Then they encountered the pirate leader. Vortek the Red was a massive ursine creature, easily 3 meters tall, covered in scars. He blocked the corridor to the shuttle, holding a plasma cannon. Humans, Vortek growled. I've heard about you. Let's see if the stories are true. Admiral Krent's voice came through Doyen's communicator. Get out of there. We're moving in with the fleet, but there was no time. Vortek raised the plasma cannon. Doyen ran at him. Not away, toward him. It was insane. But in that split second, Doyen understood something. Vortek expected him to be afraid. Predators relied on fear. The cannon fired, but Doyen had already moved, sliding under the shot. He came up inside Vortek's guard and struck at the pirate's knee. The massive alien stumbled. What followed was brutal and fast. Vortek had strength and experience. But Doyen had something the pirate didn't expect: endurance. Humans could fight through pain, push past exhaustion, and keep going when everything told them to stop. Every time Vortek knocked Doyen down, he got back up. Every time the pirate thought he had won, Doyen found a new angle of attack. Finally, Vortek made a mistake. He overextended, trying to crush Doyen with a massive blow. Doyen dodged and used the pirate's own momentum to send him crashing into a bulkhead. The impact was tremendous. Vortek didn't get up. Squad Theta made it to the shuttle with seconds to spare. As they pulled away, the fleet's weapons tore into the pirate flagship. The mission was complete. The medical bay of the academy was filled with injured cadets. Nam Suyan was being treated for dehydration and bruising. Ven had a bandaged shoulder. Torix's crystalline structure was cracked but healing. Everyone in Squad Theta had survived, but the cost was clear on their faces. Doyen sat in the waiting area, his hands still shaking from adrenaline. Manya brought him water and sat beside him without saying anything. Sometimes silence was better than words. Admiral Krent appeared in the doorway, still in his combat uniform. You did well out there, he said. All of you. It didn't feel like we did well, Doyen replied. People got hurt. People stayed alive, Krent corrected. In combat, that's all that matters. He pulled up a chair. The Galactic Council has been watching everything that happened. The battle, the rescue, all of it. They're holding an emergency session. About what? Minya asked. About whether Earth should be admitted to the Council, and about whether humans should be allowed in military service at all. 3 days later, the Academy assembled in the main hall to watch the Council proceedings. The holographic display showed the Council chamber, a massive circular room where representatives from 200 species gathered. Ambassador Quan Jihye represented Earth. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, dressed in formal diplomatic attire. Councillor Thren, a tall, thin being with translucent skin, spoke first. The recent events at Outpost 47 demonstrate exactly why humans are too dangerous, Thren said. A group of first-year cadets, untrained students, conducted a military boarding action that resulted in the death of over 30 pirates. This level of violence from children is unacceptable. Ambassador Quan stood calmly. Those cadets saved 3,000 civilian lives and rescued a hostage. Should we apologize for that? You missed the point, Thren replied. Humans are apex predators from a death world. Your capacity for violence is inherent. You cannot be trusted in positions of power. Every species in this chamber has capacity for violence, Quan said. The Krillians are warrior caste. The Zephyr have poison that can kill in seconds. The difference is that humans choose when to use violence. We don't glorify it. We don't worship it. We use it as a last resort to protect others. The debate continued for hours. Species after species voiced opinions. Some supported Earth. Others demanded humanity remain isolated. Then a message came through from an unexpected source. It was a video recorded by Cadet Braun. In the video, Braun stood in full military uniform looking directly at the camera.
My name is Braun of the Krillian warrior caste, he said.
Before I met humans, I believed my species was the strongest in the galaxy. I challenged Cadet Kang Doyen to prove this. He defeated me in 40 seconds. I was humiliated, Braun continued, but then I served with him. I watched him face dangers that terrified me. And I realized something. Humans aren't strong because they're violent. They're strong because they choose to protect the weak. When that creature charged in the wilderness, Doyun didn't have to step forward. When pirates took our squad mate, he didn't have to volunteer for the rescue. He chose to. That's not the action of a monster. That's the action of a hero. More videos appeared. Lixara spoke about overcoming his fear. Torix described how Doyen taught the squad to work together. Even Ryujiwan, who had lost squad mates in the battle, spoke in support. The final testimony came from an unlikely source. Commander Velthris appeared before the council. I did not want humans at my academy, he admitted. I believed they would be disruptive, dangerous, and incompatible with our values. I was wrong. Cadet Kang Doyen and the other human cadets have demonstrated something we've forgotten, Velthris continued. They've shown us that strength without compassion is just cruelty. That courage means protecting others even when you're afraid. That being an apex predator doesn't mean you must prey on the weak. It means you can choose to defend them. The council chamber fell silent. Then Councillor Thren stood again. I withdraw my objection, Thren said quietly. Perhaps the galaxy needs humans after all. The vote was called. Species after species cast their votes. When it was done, Ambassador Quan's face showed relief and pride. Earth was admitted to the Galactic Council with a 72% approval. Back at the Academy, cadets erupted in cheers. Doyen found himself surrounded by squad mates, all of them celebrating. Even Braun was smiling. Minya pushed through the crowd and hugged him. You did it, she said. You helped change the galaxy's mind. I didn't do anything, Doyen protested. I just tried to help people. Exactly, Admiral Krent said, appearing beside them. That's what being human means. We came from a world that tried to kill us every day. We survived by working together, protecting each other, and never giving up. Those aren't weaknesses. Those are our greatest strengths. That night, Doyen stood on the observation deck looking out at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, a tiny blue dot in an infinite universe. He thought about his family, his home, and everything that had led him to this moment. Lixara joined him at the window. What are you thinking about? The amphibian asked. I'm thinking that a few months ago I was just a kid from Earth, Doyen said. And now I'm part of something bigger. We're all part of something bigger now, Lixara replied. Because of you and the others like you, the galaxy sees humans differently. Not as predators to fear, but as allies to trust. I hope we can live up to that, Doyen said. You already have, Lixara assured him. In the weeks that followed, more human cadets arrived at the academy. Earth began sending diplomatic missions to distant worlds. The Galactic Council opened trade agreements and cultural exchanges. It wasn't perfect. Many species still feared humans. Prejudice and mistrust didn't disappear overnight. But progress was being made. Squad Theta continued their training, now as one of the Academy's most respected units. They went on more missions, faced more dangers, and grew stronger together. And through it all, Doyen remembered something his grandfather had told him before he left Earth. The measure of a person isn't their strength. It's what they choose to do with that strength. Doyen chose to protect, to serve, to prove that being from a death world didn't make you a monster, it made you a guardian. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but now it had humans standing watch. And even the predators chose to flee when humanity decided to protect the innocent. Because when a cadet from a death world stands his ground, the whole universe takes notice, and sometimes that's exactly what the universe needs.